Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your time. And can you hear me well? It's okay? Okay. Thank you. And I'm sorry to take your time before lunch. I promise I'll be short. Okay. So can I get the slides, please? Okay. Well, you had a good introduction about Brazil with Mr. Michael Nagy, and I believe we all want to have breakfast at the Christ the Redeemer. It's a great experience, and Brazil is completely a country of experiences. But before that, we want to show just how economic we are, and I believe that we are kind of an exception because Brazil is one of the few countries that are, of course, we are on a recession as the rest of the world is, but our economy is in fact going better. It's rising up in a level that others are not, which is good for us in a way that we can invest more, the government, but also the private initiative in tourism. Okay, so for 2022, we have a forecast of 2.8% of growth in the GDP. And the services sector now it has a 80.9% growth, which is a good recuperation in comparison to last year, same period. So it's a great recuperation for the services. They are leading the economic recuperation in Brazil post-COVID. And the numbers in tourism, I believe that they are great numbers comparing to the rest of the world. But they're small for us yet, but we are working on that. And I just checked, we had around 1,800,000 visitors, international visitors last year, during this year until now. This is the number. In 2019, we had 6.5 million. So we are getting back, but the international tourism is still getting to be back on trail, especially because our the main countries that send the tourists to us, they are in huge crisis. For example, Argentina, that's our main the main countries visitors that we receive. In 2019, we had 136 million domestic passengers, and that would be the passengers that move inside the country, both by buses and also by planes. So far, in 2022, we have an increase of we have a 37% down comparing to 2019, but we are 89% going up comparing to 2020, which was in the middle of the pandemics. And we had so far until July, actually, 51 million passengers for internal tourism. So our internal tourism is really carrying on with the tourism and the destinations in Brazil. Also, in the last few years, we had a lot of major reforms, pension reform, labor reform, and economic freedom reform. They low down the cost for working in Brazil, for having a business in Brazil, and also the time to start doing it. They simplified the things, and that was in the last 4 or 5 years, that was very important to attract more companies and more investors from everywhere in the world. We also had many specific tourist measures. The open market is a pre-COVID measure, and also the e-visa and the visa waiver for some countries that before they had to take visas and the process was long, it was expensive, and now it's simpler and is cheaper. And also, I would like to tell you that we have a great program for concessions, for public concessions in Brazil. And it includes energy and infrastructural assets, such as highways, roads, airports. We had many airports being concessioned last years. And also railways, yeah. That resulted that Brazil in 2021 was the 7th largest destination of FDI in the world, with $50 billion being invested in Brazil. We also had programs for investors and also workers, such as the digital nomads that someone talked today about, and also golden visa for immobiliary real estate investments, and the individual investor. Of course, not all investors want to live in Brazil, but especially the digital nomad and also the other one, they facilitate the crossing of boards, the transport between all I'm so sorry, I got lost. They facilitate the entering of these investors in Brazil for any new project. And now, a lot was said about sustainability in nature, ecotourism, and in that, Brazil can be the main country in the world, I would dare say, because we are an infinite country with a lot of natural resources. We have 6 unique biomes and a very long coastline, which means huge opportunities for the SDG agenda, for investments in the SDG agendas. That said, we created in 2021, it was launched, the website Tourism Investment Hub, that's our investment site, a public one, where the developers can put their projects, and so we present to investors. And so far we have 67 qualified and published projects that can be assessed worldwide, and you have information and also the contact to the investor. And we include in this ones public and private assets, meaning that you can really find all kinds of investments there. We have thematic parks, water parks, hotels, smart cities even. And, okay, I just want to talk about the environmental licensing is also being studied to be simpler, but it's a worry that we have to protect our environment and to make it always available for tourism without losing it. And a great example of that is the program for concessions of the conservation units, which includes national parks, state parks, national forests. And until 2021, we had 28 conservation units that were concessed for the private initiative. But we have a shortage of companies in Brazil that operate. We have two or three major companies, but they are not enough to all the 570 conservation units that we have. So some opportunities that we will have soon, some national parks, including some international famous ones. Chapada do Guimarães National Park is due to, actually is having its auction on December. It's in the middle of Brazil. It's really beautiful. Jericoacoara, it's on Ceará, is also a well-known destination. It's probably will get it next year. And then they are under studies yet, but Serra dos Órgãos in Rio de Janeiro, and Brasília National Park, which is in the capital, Brasília, where I live. And so these are parks that are in main destinations, and they will have the concession for operation. And the studies that make it viable, they are firmly on also the viability, but the sustainable development of that destination. And they have the worry is to include the local population, to work with the operators, the local operators that are already working there, because they are, many of this, they already are destinations, they are visited. So we have the worry, we worry that it's important that they keep on working there, and that they also take advantage of the concession. So it's not some external company that comes and starts to working and we lose our jobs. No, we want them to work together and to improve their work and their life. We also have a program for cultural assets that's also under studies. It's a program that was made in an association with Portugal that has a similar one. And the idea is to put cultural assets that today are not getting its full use, and turn it into a touristic asset, such as a hotel or a restaurant or a cultural center or something. So it takes from the government the obligation to sustain, to provide, to pay for that asset, for that building, and also gives it a use so the population can use it better. It makes a destination or an attraction. And most of them are pretty beautiful, such as there's the Forte Orange, which is in Pernambuco, yeah. And the studies, they also intend to preserve the cultural aspect, the historic aspect, and the environment when it's the opportunity around, and then transform a region or transform a local into improving, creating a new attraction. So these are some of the opportunities. Those ones, they are under studies. They don't have it published, but probably next year we're going to also have the process for auctioning these assets to the private initiative. Sorry. So I believe that I went too fast. You were all hungry. Sorry about that. But I'm open to questions if you be around, if you want to talk. It's a lot, I know it's overwhelming, because Brazil is overwhelming. We are too big a country, and we have a lot of opportunities, a variety of assets, and I hope you all to be there soon and also to think about investing in us. Thank you.
Very much. Are there any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any questions about the project?
Hello, Charlotte Koch for Green Architecture. The name says the message. Green hotels, how far are we in Brazil? I'm talking about the construction and the operation of hotels, because in the hotel industry, you have the problem that mostly the management contract is first finished after the construction is done, and that's a mistake. That must be changed.
Yep. So green hotels, it's a main worry of the ministry. We plan to make it the strategic plan that the whole ministry works on, aims for the sustainability. We understand that we have the obligation to be sustainable, not just for us, but for the world. So it's very important that we keep our nature, our natural assets and attractions to get visitors, of course, but also to fight the climate change, for example, because we know that such as, all the biomes that I said, all the vegetation and the systems that we have, they are too important for the whole world. So regarding the hotels, I see great movement that's natural from the private sector to make them greener. In Brazil, we have we have some incentives, but in general, not just for tourists, for some kinds of energy, clean energy, that the individuals or the companies, the buildings can use to have a more greener, a greener energy font or energy acquisition, I don't know. So I think it's, we are walking towards it. Maybe the hoteliers would tell it better because each hotel has its own way, but it's a movement, it's a national movement. I can see it when I travel in small cities and also in the big ones, that there's always this worry that they are not wasting even food, wasting energy, wasting water, and so. Okay, so, but it's a way to go, and it's difficult to change mentality very easy. You said about the construction. The construction, we had a very strict and strong licensing system. I skipped that, but it's there to guarantee that the construction of any new hotel or whatever, any building, won't hurt or won't be harmful to the environment. Okay.
Fantastic, thanks very much. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? One over here.
Hello.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, the Amazon deforestation. What's the Brazilian government doing about this? What are the actions?
Well, right now we are at transition moment in Brazil, but all the worries about the Brazilians worry a lot about the Amazon. We understand how important it is, right? We have. I was saying about the national parks. We were talking about it. There's a national park in the Amazon forest that it's planned to have its studies to be concessionated, to be operated by the private initiative. And that said, the idea of this is that you use it, but you have the obligation to conserve it more, to have it intact. So that is like a way for a visitor to look and understand the greatness of Amazon. Okay?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Renata, for your
Okay, sorry.